Keith Waters writes in, he says, what's your take on God's creation of male and females? I believe he did create them male and female. No, I guess I would read the rest of the question. On the sixth day, and the creation of Adam and Eve after God rested on the seventh day. My question is, did Cain's wife from the land of Nod, did she come from the sixth-day creation of male and female? Ooh, okay. Genesis, and this happens several times in the Bible, and I think this is important because Troy helped me realize we do interpret questions as we are reading them. And I realize you could be on a phone, a computer, and you're trying to summarize a question. And so if we ever misrepresent the question, please comment, let us know, and we're trying. But it's almost as if you think could be two separate creations of male and female. Mm-hmm. And what I would say is that that's actually not the case. Genesis chapter 1 is more of the overview of creation. Day 1, God created. Day 2, God created. Day 3, day 4. Genesis 2 then kind of backs up and gives a more detailed account of what was taking on those literal 24-hour days that he used 6 of to create the world. And so it's kind of, all right, here it is, overview. Now, wait a minute. God created man in his own image. And so let's back up just a little bit and let's focus in on that part of creation.
What a great explanation. Movies do that. Movies, when we watch movies, this is a literary device you just explained. And movies use devices like that. They'll give you a synopsis of something, and then they'll back up and they'll zoom in because they'll say 6 hours earlier or 10 days ago, and they'll back up and they'll go into detail about what's happening, and you'll see all that, and then it'll back up again and show from another point of view of somebody else's life. It's exactly what the Bible does.
And I think as far as the Cain and the land of Nod is almost a second question, Keith, because, and maybe you don't mean it that way, but if we understand Genesis 2 just being a further explanation of Genesis 1, the question that often gets asked is, well, where did Cain get his wife? Now, with that, let's back up to is it, and let me get my chapters right. I was about to cite one, and I don't want to misspeak here. Genesis 3. No. I was about to. Genesis 3 is dealing with Adam and Eve sinning, being cast out of the Garden of Eden. Then chapter 4. Chapter 4, you have, that Adam knew his wife Eve, and she brought forth a son. And we have Cain rising up and slaying Abel. And now this explains to us, and it shows us really the problem of evil that exists because of this free will that is there. And we know that there were other siblings that they would have, but we have Abel, who would have been, in this case, we have Cain. And typically, whenever you deal with Cain, he would have been the one that would have carried on the lineage.
Right.
And so there has to be an explanation because he has another son, Abel. And because Cain slays Abel, Cain is punished and cast out. And so now we have Seth. Now there's 3 children we know that they had, and that's Cain, Abel, and Seth. We don't know of any others other than they existed. And we go right here, chapter 4. You may help me out. I can't find it. It might be chapter 5. Chapter 5, verse 4. In the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. All right, so right now, based off the Bible, we know one man, one woman, Adam, Eve. They come together. They bring Cain into the world. They bring Abel into the world. They bring Seth into the world. They bring other sons and daughters. Over 800 years, his total life was 930 years, and he died. It tells us in chapter 5. And so people say, well, where did Cain find a wife? Well, there's only one logical conclusion based off God's word. He evidently, just like the rest of them, had to marry a sister.
Yes. And that sounds really weird to us because we don't talk like that. We don't do that. But my wife explains this very well. She says, look, at the beginning of creation, the gene pool wasn't as dirty as it is today.
That's one way of putting it. And eventually it turned into nieces, nephews, cousins.
Yeah.
It starts spreading out. But even within the children of Israel, they were only supposed to be marrying within a certain family structure.
That's right. So it's not that strange, that back then. And don't forget, this is before the flood, because things changed after the flood also. So it's not that strange.
And we're not advocating,
incest. Or
yes,
anything.
No. Please do not misunderstand what we're talking about. We're talking about during these times how God chose to populate the earth.
That's right. When men lived to be 800-900 years old and stuff like that, we don't have that today either.
Yeah, and you don't have to think like young children marrying, and because we're talking about hundreds of years.
That's right.
How many children could he possibly have fathered? I mean, that's quite a few.
Even today, in today's standards, I don't know if you know who Carlos Gracie is, of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that. Yeah. If I have my number right, it's in the 20s. He fathered, I believe it was 29 children.
Oh, wow.
That's in our modern times. You can imagine 800 years.
Was that all with the same wife?
I doubt it, but I don't know for a fact.
I don't know. I was just kind of curious about that. So, certainly in this case, where did Cain get his wife? It would have had to have been from
probably his sister, yeah.
Somebody there. And now, why does the Bible not tell us more of that? That goes back to our answer earlier, that the Bible's not here to give us the answer to everything we may ponder. Alan Drury commented in on that earlier. Mm-hmm. There are some things that are of God's.
Yeah, the secret things belong to God.
But God, what he was trying to do is reveal to us his scheme of redemption, his eternal purpose, as Ephesians chapter 1 and 2 will put it. And that means he needed to show us Seth. He also shows us the problem of evil that existed from very early through showing us Cain, Abel, and Seth.
Guyton, what a great point. Honestly, that's a big answer right there. This entire book right here is about the scheme of redemption. This is redemption history. And so there's just several things in the world and several questions we might have that have nothing to do with redemption.
And the importance of Genesis, and sometimes we call Genesis the book of beginnings, but it's also the book of generations.
Oh, yeah.
And what we need to realize, it's because of the book of Genesis going back, we can see in Luke's account that he gives that genealogy that Jesus is the Son of Man and is for all mankind,
right? Not
just the Jews.
Great question, Keith. Man, we appreciate you so much.
Wonderful. Patricia Shaw comments on here. Her or Jerry one says, from the beginning, when he made Adam and Eve, that took care of man and woman and nothing else. And, the old joke we always say is he made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Have you ever said that?
I've heard it said.
I've said it. Mm-hmm. But, one of the things I love about studying Genesis is it shows us God's intention and design. And that's one of the things we get out of that creation. And going back to Joe's statements or the things that Joe was bringing out about the submission. And, I just loved what he had to say. But even that order of creation, what was God's intention? It's not good that man should be alone.
That's right.
So he creates a help. And sometimes we say help meet, but it's a help suitable. And they're supposed to be working together, coming together as one flesh to work together through this world. Ultimately, the goal, going to heaven. All right, Cade Summers puts, for the note's sake on the subject, just a reminder that Abraham was married to a half-sister. Ooh.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier.
And then later Moses would condemn such marriages, but not yet. Leviticus 18:6 and following. Oh, man. Thank you, Cade.
Yeah, great.
You see why we added him to our
I was just going to say, now we see why he's going to be one of the instructors here. So,
and don't forget, he'll be teaching that youth ministry course called Synergy to Energy that's meant for more than just youth ministers. Keith, you're welcome, and thank you for your question.